Well, thank you very much, Peter. Next up is Brandon Gaskin. Brandon Gaskin is deaf. Brandon is the founder and executive director of Deaf Millennial Project, an organization inspiring generations of deaf believers to radically follow, apply, and practice the life of Christ. Deaf Millennial Project develops digital biblical content, events, and resources in American Sign Language that expose the message of the gospel to deaf people and impact the local church. You can often find Brandon exploring new coffee shops or walking his dog at the park. Please welcome Brandon as he talks about deafness, why accessibility and inclusiveness matters.
Recently, I have mixed feelings right now. So let me back up. A couple weeks ago, my daughter told me she wanted to be baptized, and I said, sure, she's old enough to make that decision. And she shared that the church would send me an email. And this church was for Wednesday nights. It's local to us for our kids, and we don't go to that church on Sundays. We attend a different church because that church provides a certified and qualified interpreter. It's about a 45-minute drive for us to go to church there. And yes, I do drive 45 minutes to attend a church that provides a qualified interpreter. So keep that in the back of your mind. I have to drive that distance so I can have access. Now, I don't drive 45 minutes every Wednesday. My kids on Wednesdays go to a youth group that they attend with their classmates. And I told my daughter when she gave me that news, sure. And the church sent me an email about her wanting to be baptized, and I told them yes. And I asked them for an interpreter to be there because it was such a special event, and they said yes, we'll get an interpreter. And that following Monday, they confirmed that an interpreter would be there, and a section would be reserved for our family at the front. And I said, okay, great. And that Wednesday night, we got to church, and Aurora, my daughter, was thrilled. She said, Mom, I'm so excited to be baptized. She was thrilled, and I was too. And I looked around, and usually I'm able to spot an interpreter pretty quickly, but I looked around and I didn't see an interpreter there. And I went to the director and I said, Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm Aurora's mom. And they were excited, but still no interpreter had appeared yet. And then someone tapped me on the shoulder. I looked over and saw it was that same director, and she mouthed interpreter. And there was a man who looked at me and said, I know a little sign. And in the back of my head, I was making angry expressions, but I tried to keep a straight face. I said, so you know a little bit of signs. I'm Tyler. And his eyes were wide open. He didn't understand me. And I was fuming inside. I looked back up front towards my husband, and I was unsure of what to do. I was so mad. I had to sit down and calm myself down. And I opened an app called Otter. That's the name of the app, to transcribe what was being said into written captions. And Aurora was thinking, Mom, where's the interpreter? And I told her, don't worry about it. I didn't want to ruin Aurora's experience just because the church provided, quote unquote, provided an interpreter. I had to try to keep my emotions in check, thinking, don't piss off Tyler. I told her I was fine. I will use my phone. And Aurora rolled her eyes, but she knew that it wasn't fully acceptable and accessible. And We went along with the service, and I was fuming. I could tell the guy was standing behind me, not really sure what to do. So I had to move my phone as I was sitting to try to make sure I could see the pastor. Aurora had to go on stage to explain why she was being baptized. And it was a challenge because she spoke softly and the app wasn't catching what she was saying. And it was also hard to see what she was saying on her lips with the lighting. And so she was then baptized. We left, and Aurora said, "Mom, I'm so sorry." I said, "No, I'm happy for you." Now, pause. What's wrong with that? Aurora has to apologize to me for something that was important for her when the church couldn't provide an interpreter that was qualified. And second of all, the person who said, "I know a little bit of signs," I wonder, why did they volunteer to interpret? Now, I love it when people learn sign language. It's great, but do not volunteer to interpret when you don't know enough. That is an insult. I was robbed of my child's experience because they were being selfish. Oh, I can interpret when they can't. No, really, it's 2022 and we need to have access. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of people complaining about how expensive an interpreter is, or it costs too much, or we know somebody that knows a little bit of sign, that's good enough. No, it's not. You get to experience your kids' experiences while I have to work hard for accessibility. It's just not fair. I did not ask to be deaf. I'm proud to be deaf. Don't get me wrong. I am proud to be deaf. But do I deserve to miss out because I'm deaf? No, I don't. People need to stop being so selfish. Just please provide accessibility for us deaf people. That's all that I ask. We didn't ask to be deaf or to be treated like this. That's why I wanted to share this. I should be able to enjoy my life without fighting for accessibility, working to accommodate for myself. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to add captions as soon as I can.
Tyler is one of 70 million deaf around the world. One experience that is most common known for deaf people. The interpreter want to stand right there? That's distracting. Maybe we can put him off the stage over there. Or maybe in the back corner. Yeah, we can give you some light over there. A common phrase that we hear often from pastors, leaders, community. My language, a distraction? Isn't it the church supposed to be a place where we lay down our burden? But instead, it seems that people walk in and leave with more burden added onto it. So, why is deafness, deaf people, deaf culture so important to the kingdom work? Because God created deaf people. Just like He created you. He designed you specifically for a reason, for a purpose, just the same way He designed me, exactly the way I am, for a reason and for a purpose. 98% of deaf people have never heard the gospel message or the name of Jesus. 70 million deaf people in the world. 98% have never heard the gospel message. And in an interpreter, it's a distraction. The math doesn't add up. It's not calculating. And if you're here, you probably get that disability ministry is so important. But if you're watching online, if you work for the church, I beg you, listen. I think our friend just said it pretty clear. A disability ministry is not a ministry until disabled people are ministering or leading as well. And that includes deaf people as well. According to International Mission Board, FE and other ministry organizations, deaf people are the number one unreached, unengaged people group in the world. I mean, again, the math doesn't add up. Well, for this one, yet. Because an interpreter is a distraction, we're not putting deaf people up in the place to equip, to train, to lead, result in a number one unreached, unengaged people group. Tyler's story is coming. When I went to college, I had just came from a deaf church that had deaf pastor, deaf leaders, youth leaders, support interpreters, deaf people, had like 60, 70 members. And then I went to college and there was no deaf ministry there. And so I prayed. I was like, God, if you want to see a deaf ministry established here, use me. I'm open. I'm willing. And he did. I got involved in a local church here. They reached out. They said, hey, if you want to set up a deaf ministry and interpreter on stage, we're more than willing to. I was like, yeah, sure. I prayed. I chatted with some friends. I chatted with some interpreters there, locally there. And they said, yeah, sure. And so we called. We said, we're ready. We invited the deaf community. We had about 10 people show up, deaf, who were attending weekly. And it was good. And then one of the leaders came, said, hey, we want you to take a break. We're going to build a stage right there. We're going to direct the light for you guys for an interpreter. It was near Christmas break, and I was going home, so we chatted with the deaf ministry team. We said, okay, fine. They knew, they understood. We came back. We arrived to the church. There was nothing there. No stage had been built. We went and approached the leader and said, hey, what's up? They're like, oh, continue. The truth was we were the distraction. We were drawn away. People were looking at the interpreter instead of the message. It's a common story. And it's unfortunately sad. But it doesn't have to be the common story. I think we can all agree that we have a heart for reaching all people, including those who are disabled. In Mark chapter 7, we're given this story about how Jesus healed the deaf man. And what's unique in this story and what's unique and different about the other is that Jesus doesn't use his words as much. He used his hands to gesture and communicate to a man who understands the language. Jesus would spit in his hands. He would look up. He would sigh. And this deaf man will understand that in a gesture form. There are over 300 plus sign language in the world. 300. There's 7 million deaf people in America. And Jesus communicated in a language that he understood. Sign language was created by God. It was not man-made. God created it. Just as he used Moses, he used deaf people as well to reach. In the deaf community, we have scientists, doctors, lawyers, pastors, leaders of all different levels. We're not the one you can just put in the corner. We're important people and part of important work in the kingdom of God. A friend of mine, Tyler, not that one, but another, wrote a paper related to Mark chapter story. And he says, the first miracle is not that the deaf man can suddenly hear, but rather, for one, there is someone who understands the life of a deaf person and is able to communicate with him in a meaningful way. Jesus was that person. In Exodus chapter 4, verse 11 says, the Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouth? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? It did not I, the Lord. Deaf people are part of God's grand plan. We cannot preach we're reaching all if all has stipulations to it. That is not the good news of the gospel. We can't be the church and say, oh, we're reaching all, we're reaching one, if it has a stipulation to, oh, it means specific type of people. No, deaf people are part of God's grand plan. So how can we change that? How can we reframe our thought, our churches? One of my personal philosophy is that if the heart of leaders are not in it, it's going to be challenging. It requires first prayer, a prayer of a group of people who are committed to seeing deaf people be reached in their town. It required meetings with the heart of leaders to sit down to discuss what are the challenges of this and seeing how the gospel is involved in this. It requires reframing as well, because I've met people who are like, you're deaf? You don't look it. You speak really well for a deaf person. What? Or as I was just having a conversation, how deaf are you? Can you read lip? There's a lot of reframing that has to happen. And it takes time. It's a process. It's not immediately. We must not only just become accessible, but we must become inclusive as well. It's one thing to provide an interpreter, but it's another to take the deaf people that you have within your congregation and to train them up as leaders to reach other deaf people. I mean, who's better to reach deaf people? Deaf. It's their language. It's our language. It's our culture. But as well as taking a further step. I mean, some of your churches, I'm sure you have welcome greeter who say, hi, welcome to our church. This way for coffee. Teach your greeting teams how to say hi. How are you? welcome. First impressions are everything. I mean, literally, how many of you walked into a church and you saw the greeter and he didn't welcome you and you didn't go back? In the same way for a deaf person. The first time they enter the church, the first thing they're thinking, do they have an interpreter? Are they going to welcome me? Will I feel more oppression? Can I be myself? Will they accept me? Will they provide an interpreter all the time? And hiring a certified and qualified interpreter. For most cities, it's harder. For most cities, there's maybe 1 or 2 interpreters in a town. And it's hard. For many, it's not hard. Why is hiring a certified, qualified interpreter important? For Tyler, it robbed her of her experience, her daughter's experience. And missing out on what should have been a celebration became a sadness. That shouldn't be the normal. I do want to clarify, certified, qualified Christian interpreter. Because a Christian interpreter oftentimes understands context. And because you're facilitating a language, it's important to know the background of that context as well. Most of us know someone that's deaf. And most towns have deaf people. The question becomes, how far are we willing to take that step? Deaf people are a part of God's plan. There's 70 million deaf people in the world. So what does that mean for the church? It would mean that we have a responsibility to train, equip deaf people, and to send them to reach other deaf people. It was only 2 years ago that we got the first full completion of the Bible in sign language. It took 50 years to do that. Let's not make it another 50 years to do that for another language. Thank you.
Thank you to Brandon and to our qualified Christian interpreting team over here. So thank you for making this accessible and for your message today. It is now time to head to either coaching, if that's part of your plan today. That's in Lakeview where we had lunch. You are welcome to head over to East 202, which is the classroom at the top of the stairs in the East Wing, to find out about my church's children's ministry team. Or you can just have a little break, visit with the exhibitors. The free professional headshots are also happening right now. That's in the fuel stop, again, over in the East Wing. Then you'll have a break from 4 to 6. And meet us back in here at either 6:15 for the free concert or 7 o'clock for our all conference gathering and worship night. Thank you.